Conversation. And if it's not your very first time to be in KUTV, you know very well that every Friday we talk about health matters, we talk about environmental matters. And if you're new to this particular broadcast, welcome to KUTV Primetime News on Friday, where we talk about health and environment. You can talk to us at KUTV_Kenya on Twitter, at KUTV Kenya on Facebook, KUTV Kenya on YouTube. You can be sure to talk to us, and let's get into a very interesting conversation without wasting a lot of time. And our topic today is understanding neurodevelopmental disorders. And I happen to mention a few of them that you might have heard, some of the popular ones like autism and ADHD, which our guests will be giving in full and helping us understand how these disorders come about and how we can be able to take care of those that have been affected in our midst. Our guest is here, Boaz Kemboi, who is an occupational therapist at Neurodevelopmental School. He's going to be telling me whether I pronounced that very well. Karibu sana Boaz Kemboi to this conversation.
Thank you very much.
Nimeisema vizuri ama we should get
Neurodevelopmental School.
Neurodevelopmental School.
Neurodevelopmental School. Yes.
Neurodevelopmental School.
Yes, the E sounds as O.
Kestro. All right.
Yeah.
I need to go back to my English classes. Karibu sana to the conversation.
Thank you very much.
Briefly introduce yourself and what you do in detail.
Great. My name is Boaz Kemboi, as mentioned. I'm an occupational therapist by profession. I do take care of these kids with developmental disorders, and that's my work. And generally, we do make sure our kids are up to standard. We make sure our kids are in that position where we can say they are becoming like independent in their life and what have you. So forth, we will talk more.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let's get straight into it. What are these things we are calling neurodevelopmental disorders? What are they, and what are the other examples that I haven't mentioned? Because there could be quite many more that I have mentioned.
Good. So, neurodevelopmental disorders. Let's first understand the term neurodevelopmental. The term neuro means the nervous system. And the nervous system in this case defines the brain and the spinal cord. So the neurodevelopmental disorders, the development part of it is the growth, the normal growth. So when we say neurodevelopmental disorders, we are talking about these conditions that affect the development of the nervous system, therefore causing an abnormal brain function. I hope I have a simple explanation. Great.
That's good. Can you mention a few so that we know what we are actually working with tonight?
Yeah.
Or maybe all of them that are in your list, because we need to cover as much as we can.
Yeah, let me start with the common ones. We have the autism spectrum disorder. In most cases, it's known as ASD in an abbreviation. We have the ADHD. This is the attention deficit hyperactive disorder. We have cerebral palsy. We have at times spina bifida. So those are the main categories of neurodevelopmental disorders. And again, we have the specific learning disabilities, or again, what we call intellectual disabilities. So those are the kinds of neurodevelopmental disorders we have.
The most common.
The most common, yes.
Yes. I want us to treat this as just an introduction. This is scratching of the surface, because I believe each of these disorders deserve another special sitting, so where we go deep and help help people understand what we're actually dealing with. But we're gonna group them for today because they are related. We're gonna group them today and see how they occur, when they come, and what we should do in situations that come around them. So when and how do these disorders come into the affected person's life?
So talking of when, mostly they happen after birth, and they're normally categorized in about 1 year to 3 years. That is when they happen. That is the point where you can now realize there is a problem with my child or my kid. So a period of about 1 to 3 years, that is where you can know. Yeah. Now, to answer your question, yes.
Okay.
How do they happen? So how in this case we are talking about the causes. So we have a variety of causes. First of all, we have the physical causes. We have the environmental causes. and we have the genetic causes. In most cases, these conditions are they are genetic, or it's believed to be caused by genetics because they don't have a specific cause. So coming to physical causes, there might be things like trauma, or a child can fall down, so and it causes damage in the brain, so it can cause so. Environmental factors, things like a mother may be taking drugs or alcohol during the time of pregnancy. That is when, when the mother is pregnant, the child is still developing.
Oh, yes.
So when she takes those drugs and what have you, it shrinks the brain of the child, so causing maybe abnormality. Yeah, so those are the main causes.
All right. So you say something very important where between the ages of 1 and 3,
yes,
the parent, the guardian, the older person in the child's life is supposed to be observing the growth of the child,
yes,
and
yes.
any anomalies that come now would start reflecting things in those lines. What are some of the things we should look out for even as we observe? Because I don't want us to assume that everyone knows how exactly a child, how the curve should go.
Yes.
So what exactly are we supposed to be observing as a child grows up, and what are the signs that show us there is something going wrong that we need to address as far as neurodevelopment is concerned?
Good. Yeah, and at times it's very difficult for some people to know, especially with the firstborns. Somebody may not know. But here are the symptoms or signs that we can have. Number one, the developmental milestones of a child. The child is about 4 months, and there is no head control. The child is 8 months, she has not sat down. The child is about 1 year plus, there is no standing, either with support or independent. So the first one, if you see the delays in the developmental milestones, that is where you can know there is a problem with my child. Number two, you can find the child not being active. In most cases, when the child is young, the occupation of the child is just a play. You can see playing with toys, something that's up there, playing around. So your child is just maybe silent. There is no active movement of the limbs. I'm talking about the upper limbs, the arms, and maybe the feet. There is no kicking. Again, you will find there is no eye tracking. You see, when you pass something like across the eyes of the child, she should be, or he should be in a position to maybe track. But in that case, your child will just be maybe staring at one place, kind of things. Another thing we can have is you will find maybe this child is low on muscles, what we call hypotonic. So the child is just maybe very, very weak. When you just hold him or her, it's just going by whatever. And again, at times the child can be very, very stiff. You see, the muscles or the joints are very, very stiff. You try to move, it's very, very stiff. So those are the maybe signs and symptoms someone should worry about. Yeah.
Amazing. We get to a point where we have discovered that the child is not doing well in terms of neurodevelopment, and we, for example, I as a parent have seen something like that with my child. What is the first step that I should take? Should I come straight to the doctor? Should I look for you, who is an occupational therapist? Do I do home treatment? What is the recommended way of handling such delicate issues?
Yeah, so the procedure is when one maybe notices the kind of things, one should approach a doctor. In either way, because some people may not know about neurologists, because the people should handle them are the neurologists. So any doctor whom you visit should guide you on whether he or she is a neurologist, should be able to maybe handle the case. But in case she is not the one, she should refer you to a neurologist, a specific neurologist, for maybe some tests to be done, and maybe to determine what kind of condition the child is suffering from. So the pathway is look for a doctor, and then the doctor now will give you the guide from there. Is she the right person to see, or is she not the right person to see? Yes. But in this case, the person to see is the neurologist.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
Let's talk about the issues that stop parents and guardians from taking these children to seek medical services. I'm talking about issues like shame. We come from an African society which largely believes in things like witchcraft and being ashamed of things that they are not very conversant about. I'm talking about issues of hard economic times like what we are in right now. Is how expensive are these procedures? Before you tell us actually what happens in those procedures.
Okay.
How expensive are they, roughly, for a common mwananchi?
It's difficult to quantify because different doctors have different rates and different facilities have different rates. But the fact of the matter is it's expensive because you might find maybe a test will cost up to 15,000. Maybe seeing a doctor is about 5,000. You are referred to maybe another practitioner, maybe another 5,000. So in a common mwananchi language, they are quite expensive.
That's already like 25,000 in a day. Just the three items you've counted. And maybe more because there's medication probably brought into the picture.
Yes.
We're going to come back to the finances much later. Let's talk about shame and all that. Yeah, there's a parent sitting down or just somewhere at home with their child. They have kept that issue to themselves. They have withdrawn from the public with their child because they are ashamed of this situation. They're ashamed that they, for lack of a better word, gave birth to a child who is not normal. What would you say to that parent, even as they seek to help this particular child?
Yeah, in most cases, we have these cultural beliefs and customs, and it hinders in so many ways of that child having a support or a support system. So the fact of the matter is, one who is having a child of that kind, it is not a mistake. It is not. It's not a matter of life and death. No. The thing is, the parents should just come out. I know there is stigma part of it, but we try as much as possible to maybe assure them that they'll be okay. So someone should not feel ashamed. Someone should not see like it's something difficult I can't manage. So just visit a doctor around you, and you will get help. Because at the end of the day, the more you prolong or stay with that child, the more the severity maybe goes up, or it accelerates. So it's high time to have that child maybe seen as fast as possible.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. You speak about acceleration of the severity of these particular disorders.
Yes.
How do you treat them? Are they totally curable? Are these disorders that we manage? As you manage as health specialists,
yes,
or are these incurable diseases? How where do they fall?
We can say it is. The fact of the matter is, they don't have a cure, but they are managed. In this case, in fact, you may not even know that someone is maybe having a challenge, a neurological disorder, because the symptoms and the signs and everything that the child presents, they will be able to be managed. So there is no specific treatment to that condition, but there are management techniques that guide the child. Medication, therapies, so those are just examples of treatment they undergo. Because remember I said in the first, they don't have a cause. So anything that lacks a cause will lack a treatment. Yeah, but they'll be able to be managed. Yeah.
So what kind of therapy are we talking about?
In this case, we are talking about me, the occupational therapist.
I'm talking about you.
Yes, you're talking about me.
Talk to me.
So us now, although I'm not alone, we have other cadres like physiotherapists, like orthopedic should come in, the nutritionist person should come in, the doctor should come in, and the nurses and no. But we play a very, very major role in making sure these children are back to their life. Because we as occupational therapists, we put ourselves in the life of a child. And then we make sure this child achieves as independent activities of daily life as possible. Because this child is now maybe 8 months. No sitting. Will you just sit down and watch that child not sitting? No. We must do something. And that is where we come in. We help these children regain the functions they have, or restore the functions they had, or rather, in another case, improve the function of the child. Yeah. So we measure on those three: improve function, restore function, and again, I said improve function, restore function, and maybe create function. Those are the three.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You said we must do something. That's also one of the phrases you said a few seconds ago. And in the spirit of doing something, I'm thinking there's a question I really want to ask everybody, and I make sure most of the time I ask everyone who sits on that seat.
Okay.
How do you create awareness for these particular disorders? Because I believe where we stand, again, we point back to our society, which is African, and and some of the traditions are still deeply rooted in us, and these diseases are mostly confused with insanity, like total insanity.
Sure.
So what do you do to create awareness of these conditions and improve the knowledge that people have about these disorders?
Yes. Very good question. So first of all, there are schools. In this case, we are calling the special schools, because these children need special care or special treatment. So we have a number of special schools, and it's broadening. As we speak, it's broadening at least across the country. So that is another pathway of managing them. At times we have camps. Like you will hear, maybe you are going to another facility, or we are going to another village, or we are going to another part of the country, to just make the villagers or the people around there aware of these conditions they are undergoing through. Another thing is, the last one but not least, is we have support groups. Mostly, in fact, social media is helping so much. You will find in a WhatsApp there is maybe a group of parents whom they have children living with disabilities or neurodevelopmental disorders. And in that group, again, there are a team of doctors, there are a team of occupational therapists, there are a team of so and so. So in case someone maybe has a child who is having the same case, she will be brought back to the group. So that is just but form of awareness, trying to reach out to those people who maybe they don't know, or they are unaware of the existence. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Let's talk about a bit about the challenges, because I believe the parent or the guardian really should be prepared to walk the journey with a child who has a neurologic disorder.
Yeah.
In this case, what would you say to parents as a preparation guide to what they should expect? Because this child is gonna be living with them for a long time. How should they be prepared?
There is no maybe a criteria of preparation, because people differ. The way you'll perceive the condition is different from the way I'll perceive. But what we are saying is there are challenges that comes by the way. Along the way, there are challenges. Number one is finances. Number two, we are talking about the stigma. Someone may not want to bring the child on. Number three is we have communication. The parent or guardian-child communication is a challenge. The child can't express himself or herself. The parent wants to talk to the child. The child maybe even doesn't listen. So those are just but three expectations a parent should have, although there are many others along the way. Because even the child may improve to a certain point, and then again, she regresses back or goes back to where we started. So those are just but challenges a parent should expect, but those are things we just live with, and we can manage with them.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's wind up on a high note. I have been in touch with what's happening, especially with children suffering autism, and through social media and real life experiences. And one thing that touches me, and I have noticed, you tell me if that's correct, is that I have seen that if an autistic child decides to do something, they end up being very good at it. It's like they know how to focus on something. A good example is something I saw on one of the Got Talents where an autistic child is into music and they're playing the piano while singing, and they do it very well. They do it better than many professionals out there. So, and I'm going to touch this question as we wind up with CBC, which comes in to identify special abilities of the children as well. First of all, do you think, this question is in two parts, do you think CBC is helping these particular children with neurological disorders? And what can we do to harness those special abilities? Because most of them that I have seen, they have special abilities which they are very good at. What can we do to harness them, and is CBC helpful to them?
Very true. CBC is very good for them because, in the past, we were forcing children to books. And these children, for the fact of the matter is, they are not good in books. There are some who are good in books. Most of them are not good in books. They are good in vocational skills. You see, someone is good in art and craft. Someone is good in hair making. Someone is good in being a barber. So CBC, I can say, will really help these children because we will now be focusing on what is this child good in. And to answer your next question,
yes,
what can we do? What we can do is we should have that parent-therapist co-relationship in making sure this child is having a right pathway. Identifying the skills of the child. What does the child has? Which skills does he have? Or to maybe do something. So it's a role of a therapist in maybe doing an assessment to see this child can be good in maybe communication of maybe even being a journalist like you. Someone may be good in shaving. So it's a role of a parent, a role of a therapist, a role of a doctor. So all these people should come up. At the end of the day, they should have one agreement. Where are we heading to? So that we can leave other things that are not maybe meaningful to the child. Let's not force things that the child doesn't like, because most of them doesn't like a lot of things. And most of them, or even all of them, they have that ability, or they have that one thing they like. So let's have let's put our minds together. Let's be full of beans, full of energy, and direct this child towards achieving what or she wants in life. She might not say, or maybe he or she might not tell you, but you will see. It's something observable. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you. As we wind up, I'm going to give you like 30 seconds to punch it and give your parting shot even as we conclude this conversation.
Okay.
You can do that direct to your camera. Talk to somebody.
To the parents or to the guardians who are having children with disabilities or neurodevelopmental disorders, it is not the end of life. Because what I know is there is a solution to every problem, and we are there to make you proud. So don't feel ashamed. Just face us directly. We are the occupational therapists. We have a team of doctors. We have a team of other cadres. Face us and we will really, really help our child, especially as the occupational therapist. We want to make sure that child of yours, we are putting life, we are making life better, better, and better again. Thank you very much.
Amazing, amazing. This is Boaz Kimboi, occupational therapist. Very helpful information on what's happening with the neurodevelopmental disorders. I don't know, I'm calling them neurological. Neurodevelopmental disorders. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and allowing us to have this particular conversation. And we would love to have you, even as we continue sharing about these things, so that we can be able to actually conquer some of these diseases and disorders even as we go on. So we shall be calling you back to talk about these disorders in details and see how we can actually tackle them one by one. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation tonight. We are grateful indeed.
Thank you.
All right. That is Boaz Kimboi, occupational therapist at Kestrel Manor. That's how he said it's Kestrel Manor School. We take a short break. We'll be right back with more. Do not go anywhere.